I'm going to try something new today. I'll put rates on and I'm going to tame it down. So
elevator rates 50%. Throttle active.
To the sun, Greg.
Nothing to do with the sun. Anybody got a bin bag?
Probably won't come back again.
The first thing to do, obviously, when you get to the crash site is to disconnect the battery. That is, in case it hasn't done so automatically. Secondly, check the major components are in place, or locate them, the receiver, speed controller, motor, check the prop adapter and anything else you can think of. And thirdly, step back and look for any small pieces. Even small pieces of foam will aid in the reconstruction, which we'll get onto next. Well, I made a nice mess of that, didn't I? Overconfident, hubris, but there we are. We have plenty of Yoo-hoo pour, which is ideal for this type of EPP, and our diligence at the crash site. We have recovered the major piece of the nose there. That will go back into place as well. And importantly, I did manage to find the small piece which has come out of the wing just there. You can see that when that's pushed in there with some glue, that's going to be almost like new. I did manage to trash this servo, so I've changed that. So the servo lead will need tacking down there. Otherwise, she will live to attempt to fly another day. I'm going to get on and glue those pieces together, and then we'll see how we get on. Here we are then, all back together. A little bit of scarring there, so our smiley face is now scarred face. It's gone back together very well, I think. I've checked the centre of gravity, and that's underneath the spar still, so nothing much has changed there. One change though is the propeller. I am always guilty of over-propping things, and I had a 7x4 on there, which was a little over the top. This is now back to the recommended 6x4. It'll still have plenty of thrust. Let's do a quick check now. So ailerons going right, right one goes up, left one goes down, that's good, and vice versa. Elevator, down is up is down, and left and right for the rudder. So everything is correct there. Have a little prop test.
Throttle disabled. Throttle active.
So as I say, still plenty of thrust, possibly even still too much. Hopefully tomorrow we'll be able to get it out and have a try, and I'll ask one of my colleagues to assist me, I think, this time. No more hubris. We just had a big storm here, so what tomorrow will bring weather-wise, we'll wait and see.
It wanted to go left, I couldn't stop it.
No, that...
That's the way it went last time. It went left. I couldn't stop it, so I just killed it.
Yeah. There's something not right there, isn't there?
Yeah. If you watch, they only flex in the centre. The ends don't.
Maybe I should cut right through and tape the whole thing.
Maybe.
Well, that's further.
It won't come back. It wants to go hard right. Balance wise, it's lovely. But it wants to go hard right. And that's just a crosswind.
Right.
And it didn't really respond, it just dumped at the last second there. It didn't respond to the elevator, so it needed a bit more speed. That's not going to be easy to fly.
Right.
For some reason, it's wanting to go around to the right. Maybe your thrust is there, so it's doing that.
Right.
Maybe you might need to move your thrust slightly. See what the thrust line is.
Well, as Steve said, these things may look like they should fly easily. Says it's a trainer and beginner friendly, but the reality is subtly different. No damage. I'm not sure how much more time I'm going to invest in this model, or maybe we should almost call it a day. I think definitely on the thrust line, I 3D printed this mount and there's no offset in it, and maybe freeing up the aileron somewhat. So I think we'll give it one more shot on the bench. If she doesn't want to fly next time, then sayonara.
We have our work cut out then with this beast, in no particular order. As Steve mentioned, there seems to be something strange with the way the ailerons are moving. If we have a look here, I'll hold that over, you can just about see that it's curving here. It's pushing up in the middle, and there's very little movement at the end, and that is the same on both sides. You can see again here that it's bulging up, so I'm going to cut through there and put some Mylar hinges in. With regard to the motor thrust angle, at the moment it's dead level. There's no modification to the thrust line. The net effect of that is that when you throttle up, it tends to nose down. That can be compensated by the elevator, but that's just causing the elevator additional work. My idea then will be to space out the bottom part of the motor mount to give it a slight downward pitch, and that will hopefully counteract at least some of the tendency for it to nose up. And finally, the other day when I was reviewing this new advanced servo tester, I discovered that the rudder servo on here appears to be faulty. It was drawing more current than the other servos. I'll put a link up here to where you can watch that video if you wish. The other servos were drawing around 600 milliamps, and the rudder servo was drawing in peaks over an amp. And I actually disconnected the control rod and it was still drawing nearly an amp. Therefore I'm going to swap out the rudder servo as well. With all that done, we'll wait and give Steve the opportunity to try and get the thing to fly again, and then we will pass judgment whether it will live or die. Another issue was the wing flexing. This is the spar which I've removed from it. As you can see, that's not going to support it very well at all. This is more like it. This is a solid carbon fibre tube. What I'm going to have to do is to open up the slot to accommodate that. So we're going by guess and by God. I've set my Dremel to the height of the carbon tube there, and I'm just going to attempt to follow the line there. Wish me luck. Not forgetting, of course, safety squints. The next decision is cyano or epoxy. I think I'm going epoxy. The normal hinge material that I use is not long enough. What I've done then is to make some Mylar hinges of my own. I think I'm going to need 4 per side. It is a very long aileron after all. Where have I sourced this material from? Well, being a techie, I still have a whole bunch of these old floppy disks lying around. You must make sure that they are double density. It's a simple matter. A little spring there might come in useful for something. Should now be able to separate the 2 parts and just remove the Mylar disc, which is what we're interested in. It's a simple matter then. This is the one that I cut up before, to just cut around a square in the middle. You end up with these Mylar strips. The next job then will be to cut a slot to put that in, and then using foam safe cyano glue them all in place. Before you do that though, this Mylar material really needs to be scuffed up to get the glue to stick. All the mods are finally done now. The hinges, obviously the
servos are not connected at the moment, but I don't think you're going to get any freer movement than that. The new spar that I've put in means that I can't flex the wings hardly at all. Cutting along the hinge, weapon of choice would be one of these little saws. These are brilliant for cutting foam. Sometimes it's a real challenge, even with a sharp knife, to be able to cut cleanly, but this does the job, and links down in the description if you want to purchase one. But for making the holes for the hinges, then this is obviously the tool of choice, being nice and pointy. Finally then, you can see that I've spaced out the bottom of the 3D printed mount so that the motor is pushing up the way. That's about all I can do. I just need to reassemble, hook up the aileron servos and do a final check on that. Hopefully tomorrow, weather and Steve permitting, we will have the final verdict.
Right? It was nosing down before. It needed the elevator trim up a little bit.
Been that before?
No, I can probably down trim it a little. With it that way, then you're happy with it that way. You know, you set it up to fly it yourself. Do you want me to take it round and then give you the tranny and give you a shot?
Yeah, why not?
Flying straight into the wind.
Okay.
Just correct it. You will need to correct it because it will get blown. That's 3 clicks of throttle. Probably got to give it more on the aileron. You can give it quite a bit. Bank it over. A little bit of up, a little bit of up, a little bit of up. Beautiful. Well done.
Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, that's it.
So then, the jury has made its verdict and it lives to fly another day. As Steve said, the modifications to the elevator and the other mods that I did have proved effective. It lives.